Okay. I'm going to now introduce Rabbi Chaim Lefkowitz from Muncie, who has been working closely with a legal team in order to protect the Jewish people from inroads into the Masorah of our children's education. Okay, it's going to be on the screen.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Ik ben doe het. Ik ben gered of the sheet. Hello? Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Can't hear me. I can. Okay. Mami, ik ben op de conference. Ik kan niet reden. Yeah. Hello? I'm on with video. I can see you. I can hear you. And my system is saying that I can hear you. Hello? Can you hear me now? Don't see me? I just opened my video. Can you see me? I see myself in Zoom. In Zoom, you can see me. Maybe the screen is not beaming. Your screen. The people are saying in the chat they can see and hear me. So that's your screen. That's not. Okay, can I start? Ebrichem Abuim B'Shem Hashem, for the Chushuva audience that gathered here today. It's a very, very important event and a very important topic. We are living today in a very unique matzav of Klal Yisrael, and in a way we have the schiz to be Doire Shel Mashiach. We are living in Ikvase de Mashiach and Yemois HaMashiach, where Chazal, on the Madrushim, in the Gemuras, they all warned us in their prophecies that very difficult times are ahead for those Jews who are going to live in the end of times. But in a way, we have a tremendous opportunity, a tremendous schiz that our forefathers in previous generation did not have, which is the schiz to be the Ligyan Shel Melech, the guardians of Klal Yisrael, the guardians of Hashem, to stand up for Kvod Shemayim. We're living in a generation that David HaMelech and Tillim said, Lam rak shigoyim elimim yisyatzvi malcha yeretz v'roiznim nois diyochad al Hashem v'al Mashiach. It's a very unique time in history that world governments throughout the globe, especially in Western society, which Chazal call Malchus Edom, and they said in Masechta Sanhedrin, "Ein ben David bu eshet es hapach Malchus Laminis," meaning to say that the previous generations of Malchus Edom, Isav had some faith, they had Christianity, etc. Although it was an initial sheker, but still they believed in a superpower, they believed in God, and as it's enshrined in the dollar, in God we trust. We're living in a time that world governments globally in Western society are trying to eradicate every element of faith, every element of morality, every element of human decency, etc. But this is what's happening by the Goyim. And Chazal told us whatever is happening by the Goyim, it only means us. It's the gulas, it's the kira barzel, it's the cleansing that we need to go through. Meaning, in each and every generation, whenever the Goyim worshipped idols, the Klal Yisrael had that insoyan not to follow those idols. We don't understand what those idols have been. We have no clue what Avodah Zarah is all about. But unfortunately, what we understand is the idol of today's time, which is all these secular agendas, we the people, worshipping man, worshipping Satan, and eradicating everything holy and everything godly. It's very sad that we have been here almost 70 years post-Holocaust, and the original immigrants, our holy parents and great parents, and the holy tzaddikim, admoirim, rabbonim, rosh yeshivas, that built the fortress, this holy institutions and establishments are now in a very big danger. Short, our ship is sinking in a very, very dangerous and turbulent ocean and turbulent tides. Elements from the outside are sitting and planning how to penetrate the walls, these holy walls that have been built. It's written, they have a very clear written agenda. They are looking to contaminate the Gentile society, and of course they're targeting us. Because ma'at minu emes, doicha harbe minu sheker. A small ma'at minu oyer, doicha harbe minu choshech. A little bit of light enlightens a whole place of darkness. So we, being the oyer lagoyim, are the worst enemy for those evil forces. They know what Klal Yisrael is all about. They've been studying us. I've seen different studies that have been done by the Goyim, and especially by Mishimodim, secularized Jews. Has been funded many studies by this shameful, evil organization called the UJA Federation in Manhattan. They have been investing and pouring in millions of dollars in Israel, which they call it an agenda l'chalenes hacharaidim, to secularize the Haraidim. They have invested enormous amounts of funding in different research on the life of Haraidim, what they're all about, and how can we change them, how can we penetrate them. They understand that the Haraidim, the ultra-Orthodox, the Hasidim, the Yeshiva world, is Am Kishayorefi. They know what we are all about, but and that's why they plan to be like a silent killer, slowly but surely to penetrate and to seep into our societies. And unfortunately, the power that they have on our communities is what Shlomo Melech said, Hakesev Yana Sako. The Balamaya is the Baladaya. Unfortunately, it has been done through so-called shtadlonim. In Israel, they call them Chavra Knesset. Here they are called different names, shtadlonim, askunim, that the only thing that they have in mind all day to get more and more funding and resources from these evil elements. Now, we have to understand that these liberals, the Democrats, or whatever you want to call them, progressives, the monies that they are offering, is not for free. Shlomo Melech says in Mishle, Kechinam, Mezoiru hareshes lifnai kol bal kunav. When a bird enters into a cage, into a net, into a trap, there is food over there, there is bait. The bird doesn't have the cleverness, doesn't have the seichel to understand that this food that is distributed, that is prepared over there for free, it's really not for free. There is a price for it. The price is that once you eat the food, you're going to get trapped. At the previous government of President Trump, the Attorney General was a guy by the name William Barr, more of a conservative individual, very outspoken on a lot of the liberal agendas. I've seen a lecture that he gave after he left office, explaining the dangers of the funding that is being offered by those people, those liberal powers. And this is exactly what he's saying. The reason why they are offering all of these millions and billions, and especially since COVID, this has tripled and quadrupled in enormous amounts, and especially they are pouring in hundreds and millions and billions of dollars in the education system. It's for only one reason. In his words, it's more like socialism or communist Russia, but in a clever way. They're buying off the masses by funding. And it's very unfortunate that the Am Chochem V'Novim, the V'Yisem L'Segilu, Mekal the Mamleches Kehanim V'Goy Kudish, we should be much smarter than that and much clever than that. Even if we would have lived in an era where there is poverty, we should have been smart enough not to go close to these dangerous individuals, institutions, fundings, etc. As Shlomo Melech says, "B'ni al tailaich b'derech itam, mena raglachum in sivusam." Don't step on their doorstep. Just walk off. Go on the opposite side. And as the Chachamim say, even if a snake, a venomous snake, is running after an individual, should not go to them even to get healed from them, because Shana Minas, the Mashka Apikarsis, has a koyach, has a gravity, has an addiction. Apikarsis has an addiction, money has an addiction, power has an addiction. Here we have a combination that this is the nisoyan of our last generation, that these people are in power. The covered, it's all by them. They are the people in control. They are the people who have the money, and they are the people who are propagating meanness and apikarsis. So all of this, all in its own, is very dangerous. But it's when a chitam shilish, we have the power of government, we have the koyach of the addiction and attraction of money, and we have the koyach of meanness, of apikarsis. All in all, it's a very, very powerful pulling energy, evil energy, that we just need to run for our life. And it's very, very unfortunate that we're living in a situation that the people in power and the big kehillas and moisdes, I'm not judging them individually, I'm just talking on what's happening, what we see in front of our eyes. The only thing that they have in mind when it comes to elections, etc., or anything, is just to find goodwill in the hearts of these evil individuals, bringing them, inviting them in different events of Moisdes HaTorah, of Yortzeiten, etc., bringing them into houses of worship, into our heilige yeshivas and potemedroshim, inviting them to the Rebbes and to the Rosh Yeshivas. It's mamish. We are ashamed of ourselves that this is what's happening in time when the Novi says, the Novi says, go out to the Goyim who are worshiping in Yonim Shel Sheker, and they are not forfeiting their faith. And my nation is not behaving like those faithful Gentiles. It's not a secret that many of the conservatives in the Christian communities are waging a war. The war is happening in front of our eyes on many different topics, on abortion and on education, what's happening in the state of Florida, etc., in Texas. And it's very unfortunate that in our communities, not only the war is not waged properly, but different organizations have no choice but to mention their names, because people need to understand an organization like Agudas Yisrael, an organization, unfortunately, like Torah Mesoira, and especially the byproduct of the organization called Pearls, that has been established of so-called saving our education against informers like Yafet, those people of footsteps. The organization of Pearls that has been established for the last 6-7 years has been established without advice, without direction of any real Gedolei Yisrael, not in the Hasidic world and not in the Yeshivish world. It has been orchestrated, directed up until today by a few individuals in office that all what they do is what they call stadlones, which stadlones interpreted lobbying for money. And now these individuals from Yafet, which unfortunately they are one of ours, they call them OTD of the Derech, and it's not a secret that we are now suffering of an epidemic. Hundreds and thousands of nebuch children of ours from all moisdes, from all kehillas, boys and girls who are leaving the path of their fathers and forefathers, and many of them became Mamish Apikochim and Soine Yisrael, and they are the organizers of this organization, Yafet. And who knows, and many Gedolei Yisrael said so, that it's not an Indian of Tiyasraich Ra'usai, that since we established the foundation of our moisdes on the Treifen and Tomana money of all of these Tomana liberals, that it had hashpua, a koyach hapoel beniful, directly and indirectly, that it been metama the souls of our holy children. But now these children are like the Mishimodim in pre-war and Muslim pre-war, and they came to the government and said that there is a law called substantial equivalency, a law that has been going on for 130 years. And this law was in the dustbin of the legislators. Nobody looked at it. This law, to begin with, has no legs to stand on. Has been a racial law between the Catholics and the Protestants. But these Mishimodim that grew out from our institutions came to the government, to the Department of Education in New York City, and then to the New York State Education Department, and said, here is a law of substantial equivalency. Here we have many yeshivas, and they are not adhering to the law. But their main argument, there is a Yafed report, it's open for everybody, you can go on their website, yafed.org. Their main argument, they have pages upon pages claiming that these yeshivas are getting millions and millions of funding, and there should be oversight, there should be proper inspection, and yeshivas have to be transformed and reformed to be equivalent to that of the public school. Now, once that happened, of course, the initial response should have been that this should have been brought to the Gedolei Yisrael. It should have been brought to the attention of those thousands upon thousands of parents who are sacrificing their daily wealth, their little parnasa that they have, all for their chinuch. They were supposed to gather Klal Yisrael and say, this is at stake, and the response would have been a Mesiras Nefesh, Ani Choimu. This is what we have been through our generations, Mesiras Nefesh. We lived through Nazi Germany, we lived through Communist Russia, we lived through Spanish Inquisition, etc., etc. Likewise, we are going to live through liberal, progressive New York in 2020. We should have given them an iron fist and an iron wall, not giving them a foothold into our communities and moisdes. But what happened is just exactly the opposite. Everything is documented. We have in our possession. There's many askonim that are already aware today, and many Gedolei Yisrael and Rosh Yeshivas and Rabbaim who already see the bitter brach and harm that happened. But in a way, it's a little bit too late, but it's never too late. It's unbelievable. We can write books, volumes of books on email communications and negotiations and sellout that happened behind closed doors in Albany and in the city of New York, that the so-called Stadlonim, they were supposed to work on our behalf, that we should find goodwill in the eyes of the government, that they should understand that our chinuch is holy, we are successful, we are here to stay, no compromise and change. Just the opposite. They were the Stadlonim and the Shlichim and the missionaries of the government to hide their intentions and to make all kind of evil deals behind closed doors, promising the government that we are going to change the entire system of the yeshiva institution. The time is very short, but it's open for all. Everybody can search for it. There are 2 letters from the chancellor from New York City, the DOE, to the commissioner of the state, highlighting and documenting what happened behind closed doors with all of these yeshivas that all promised that we are going to make reform and change, and a whole team of educators outside from our community, modern Orthodox with Treifen Ashkofas, who live very close to a Goyish lifestyle, who look up upon college and career and academia, and we have liberal hashkafos. They were hired to come into Williamsburg, into Borough Park, and teach our principals, our manahalim and our malamdim how to make change. And the way the government writes in their memo that big reform and change is happening within the Orthodox community. So right now it's a really wake up call. Klal Yisrael has to wake up. Emes, there's a big danger of the liberal agenda in general, of the Imas Oilam in general, but we have a much, much bigger skana what's happening in our midst, which we have been called in the time of Nazi Germany, Judenrat, those people from within who were cooperating with the evil Nazis to hide the Nazi agenda that people should not escape or hide. And this is nebuch how millions of the holy Kedoshim ended up in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. Today there is a gas chambers of Aruchnis Diga Auschwitz. That is exactly my famous Goygi Mogoi, that tzaddikim from the Hasidic world and the Yeshivish world said that this is what Goygi Mogoi is all about. What the Chazal were so afraid of was a melchuma with a minna, Yisyad Zimal Cheretz al Hashem val Mashiachoi. We are fighting for our soul. We are fighting for our house. It's now a time that Hashem is asking everyone, just focus on me, cling to me. As we Chazal say, Buchavakik, ve'hamidon alachas, ve'tzadik, be'minoso yichye, ve'ailuni le'isho en elo levine shebeshamayim. We are living in a time of a war of the Chashmonoim against Yevonim, the Chashmonoim against the Misyavnim. Although it's Rabbim biat ma'atim, mitmayim biat oirim, aber Hashem shusisu nisim lavisaini, vayumi mohaim bisman azay, we are for sure that the power of a minute, the power of Hashem is stronger than anything. Hashem will win, but we need to side with Hashem, not with the enemies of God, not with the Amalaikim and the Yevonim of our generation. So what's happening right now, as we speak, there is now a time of commentary period. If you have heard, many of the Botei Midrashim, petitions, drafts of petitions have been distributed. Now there is a draft that has been put out by Agudas Yisrael and Perils, which is, so to say, many Rabbonim and Gedol Yisrael saw it. They said it's Chazer Treif, meaning to say that Perils is asking that in the Hasidic yeshivas that had a bare minimum of English, of Ksav, what has been called 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, just to go on in life without any Chachmas Chesonias, without any exposure to any Goyishkeit. But they are demanding that we should include science, and science is apikorsis mamish, what they call science. Science does not mean Bereishis Buru Elikim. Science means the whole schmutz of apikorsis, and then there is a topic called social studies. And when you look into what social studies in today's meaning is all about, it's Hashem Yerachem, it's the whole Ta'ayve v'Chachmes Hagoyim. And this is what Yafed is asking, and this is what Perl is in their petition saying for the government, that we are already doing it. Why bother us? We are already committed to that, etc., etc. And if it's not enough that Yafed has been requesting from the government to control our secular studies, Perlos is promising for the government that they are willing to give oversight even for the Mida Kodesh. They call it Kodesh curriculum, and Ehrlich Yidin is calling that Koifer curriculum. They made a whole draft called mapping. It's Pachet Pechodim. When you look at it, it's Mamish Chorben B'Samigdish. When they wrote Parshas Bereishis Noach and all the Parshas of the Torah, secularized of all godliness and holiness. It's mamish unbelievable what the communists have done and before the war is being done in front of our eyes just for these funding and resources. So what is left to be is, first of all, we got to be aware. Awareness is saves. We got to be open our eyes and know what's around us. We got to be aware that we cannot rely on the so-called shtadlonim, askonim, and unfortunately, they're having a big power and a pull on many of the leaders in our society because of all of the funding. It's a time that everyone has to look out on himself and on his children. It's like in the time of Nazi Germany. Before the Nazis came in, there was the life of a kehillah, life of a community. There was the roof, the Rosh Hakul, the Gaboim of the kehillah. But once the Nazis came in, everybody knew I cannot rely on the Rov anymore. I cannot rely on the kehillah anymore. I cannot rely on anybody. I cannot rely on my neighbor. I just need to flee for my life. I need to save myself, to save my wife, to save my children. My eyes has to be open. This is the Choyves Hashut that's happening today. We got to be very open-minded. Of course, we need to pray and to wet out the pillows at night and to say so much Tillim and cry for Hashem to enlighten us and to give us the power, the same as He gave the power for the Chashmonoim against the Yevunim, and it definitely will save us. But it is a tremendous responsibility, tremendous achrayas. We cannot sit silent. First of all, we got to be aware for ourselves. And there's a Choyves Hashut that many Gedolei Yisrael said that we need to sever, to cut off the moistus from all of this funding. And if it's not happening, we need to build new institutions, pure Taharas HaKodesh, pure of all the ashpoah, of all the intoxication, indoctrination that these monies is endangering our whole society. If there's an infestation in leafy greens and lettuce, E. coli, or etc., everything is pulled from the shelves because we can get infested. There is an infestation right now happening in our moistus. We need to pull off the shelves the product that has been put out for us till now, which is government funding. We need to sever, to lahavdul ban Yisroel ban Oamim, mamavdul ban kodesh lechoil ban oil lechoishech, and we need to gather all the koiches. There's many thousands and thousands and upon thousands of individuals have woken up. They've woken up at the time of the measles, etc. The way these Manahala Moisdes dealt with those parents. I'm not going into the whole issue of the actual of vaccines or no vaccines. What I want to touch the issue how these administrators and institutions dealt with the parents of our holy children like animals. Like if we have been imprisoned by them, if they owned us, if the chutzpah that happened in our midst is mamish unimaginable, and all is only because of the monies. I have a recording and a transcript of Yerucham Silber from Agidus Yisroel after the whole measles ordeal that he went to Albany when the budget has been laid out and said, like in other words, I don't have the exact words in front of me, but the content was that we are the police. We are the police for the government to enforce vaccination. So therefore, you got to add much more funding per child. So in other words, they became the police enforcement department for government agendas. And the same is happening now, the government evil agenda of education. As many of gathered here today know about what Common Core is all about, which is a whole apikarsish way how to teach the children of critical thinking. There's no absolute. Up till Hashem Chas v'Sholom, there's no absolute. A child has its own power. There's no gender. There's no parents. There's nothing. There's no customs. There's no morality. Everything can be thinking critically, and this is what Common Core is all about. And this has been invented by these Yemach Shemoinikas of these global liberal movement. And this Perils organization, this Trifer organization of Perils that has been established by Agudis Yisroel and many Shtadlunim from our midst, promised the government and created a whole curriculum built around this Common Core education. So in other words, what's happening is they became, unfortunately, the government agents to fulfill their agendas on our bodies and on our souls. So it's an Eismul Tzore Hiliyankov, and it's an Eismul Choma. We need to stand up and say, enough is enough. These evil koiches can only work in darkness. Once we are going to be educated, then we're going to educate others. When we get the word out, we'll spread the word out, and we say, stop, you don't own us. We will cry out. We are going to be the Maccabees of this generation. We are going to be the Chashmonaim. We are going to fight the Yavonim, which are the Gentiles, and we are going to fight the Misyavnim, which are those missionaries, those who are trying to find goodwill in the eyes of these Tomaner liberals. The schis of all of the holy tzaddikim of the Gedolei Yisrael that established our holy communities, the schis of our fathers and forefathers that have been with Mesiras Nefesh, gave away their life for the chinuch of their doiris, and the schis of our holy parents in this generation who are sacrificing themselves day to day to bring up their children in the way of Tzilach Bikvayat, sign of the way of our forefathers. All of this Mesiras Nefesh should go up to heaven and Shemayim, that Hashem should help us, that although we are so little, so weak, but Hashem is much more powerful. Kel Hashem Amlichu im Moishal Bagoyim, and Hashem should help. It should be Uli Moishim Ba'atzio and Lishpoitas Araisov, that the Koichas of Aisov, the Koichas of Timah. So it should come already the end of times. It should be Vohoyu Hashem. Lamelach HaKol Uretz, Beyoyim Ahi Hashem Echad, Yishmoy Echad, Bimheiru B'yameini Omen.